Let's go, big dog! Welcome back to another episode of Wolf Lodge. Last week's hiking totals for the summer, 2,975.1 pounds. Plus, that pack just hiked in, 65.4. 3,040 pounds hiked in this summer.
Welcome to the next level. Wolf Lodge.
All right, this is going to be a 2-day episode. Today was Ash and I's travel day into the property, and then I'm going to spend the rest of today tearing down that old tool shed. The new tool shed is built. Really don't have a need for the old tool shed at the moment. Plus, going forward in the future, it's going to be nice as people walk into the property, they're not going to be looking at a plastic shed. The main focus is going to be on Wolf Lodge. So, spend the rest of the evening taking that down. And then tomorrow, I'm going to start my day off with a warm-up hike out to the trailhead where 2 brand new excavator tracks sit. One's going to go to replace the broken one, and one's going to go up on a shelf as a spare part for future use. And then, tomorrow, finally break ground on that greenhouse. So, let's get this started. It's either snow or hail, I can't tell. Storm passed by, and I got one epic sunset going on right now. Let's go, big dog! All right, starting my day off with a warm-up hike out to the trailhead to grab the excavator tracks. And this is going to be a weightless hike, so time to answer one of your questions. NURMR wants to know how I brought that big front door in. And man, when you asked the question, I had to dig back through some old hard drives and find the old footage. And seeing that old footage really had me reminiscing on how crazy that mission really was. So that front door is from a company called Nanowall. Okay, November 2nd, 2018. And the front door has shown up. And I specifically chose that door for two reasons. First and foremost, reason being that when that door is open all the way, it really does blur the line between inside and outside. No other door would have done that view justice. The second reason I chose that door specifically is because it came in pieces. Each glass door is its own piece, 3 pieces, and the door frame came in 4 pieces. So pieces I could individually transport into the property. And to answer your question, that door came in on this hiking trail, but it came in the winter time. I thought using a snowmobile would make the task easier, but I learned pretty quickly it wasn't an easy task. So it took 4 guys 2 days to hand dig out this entire trail, about 5 feet wide enough to get a snowmobile through. As I think back on that decision to dig out a 1 mile long trail, basically it was like shoveling a 1 mile long driveway. It was tough, and by the end of the second day, morale was pretty low between the 4 of us. It was just excruciating hard work. But after the hard work was done, shoveling, bringing in the panels was pretty easy. So I wrapped each panel individually in tower pads. Tower pads are just pads off of a ski resort used to wrap ski resort infrastructure. So if a skier were to run into them, they wouldn't get hurt. So I took a couple tower pads and basically sandwiched each glass panel in the tower pads and then hooked it up to the snowmobile and drug it to the property.
Okay,
Going up.
looking good. Moving. So there's Darren at the top.
Go.
Here's Wyatt and Chris at the bottom. Pushing, pushing, pushing. There's Chris's feet. You can see how much kickback he's got. Kicking back.
Okay.
All right. They're over the lip. Oh, whoa, almost. Good catch, Chris. Excellent catch. Almost went sideways on him. Chris got it up there. Now let's see if I can climb this pitch. Period. I kind of doubt it. There he is. 3 doors in.
3 panels.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. I can't believe it. There's John, who's been narrating this whole time. All 3 panels inside the cabin for the first time ever. And then after all 3 panels were in, I brought the frame in its own individual box. all said and done, snowmobiling in the parts was pretty easy. It was just shoveling out this 1 mile long trail that was the kick to the shins. But all said and done, pretty wild, successful mission. Oh, I love the smell of 3-digit packs in the morning. Let's go, big dog! What you doing up there, crazy dog? Oh, that was a great warm-up hike. All right, let's talk about a greenhouse. Now, before we begin, I want to say something. I know very little about greenhouses. I am a student, not a teacher. So if you follow this build, you're going to be learning alongside with me. Now let's talk about the tools I'm going to be using to learn. There's 2 of them. The first one is a book by Jerome Osentowski called The Forest Garden Greenhouse. Now I'm choosing this book to learn from because the author of this book, Jerome, is growing tropical fruit in Basalt, Colorado at 7,000 feet of elevation, which is pretty impressive. So impressive that 2 days ago, I traveled to the greenhouses in this book and saw firsthand tropical fruit being grown at high elevation. Now, the way he does that is through something called a climate battery, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Now, the second tool I'm going to be using to learn and help with design is a little bit more controversial. I'm going to be using ChatGPT, or in other words, AI. I don't know what your feelings are on AI. A lot of smart people I listen to in podcasts and YouTube videos say it's the end of humanity. And a lot of smart people I listen to on podcasts and YouTube videos say it's going to be the greatest thing ever to happen to the human civilization. What the future holds, I have no idea. But what I can do is base my decision on whether or not to use it off of what I can see with my own eyes today. Are AI robots in the streets and in the skies hurting people? No. So why not, at the moment, use the most powerful tool humans have ever created to help me on this build? So I'm going to use it. All right, let's talk about design. And my design plans have already changed. This is going to be a work in progress. It's not going to be clean. It's not going to be neat. Like I said, we're learning together. So my original plan was to go with something like this. A wallopini. I don't know. Wallopini? So I really liked this design. So when I said 2 weeks ago that I was going to mirror what I did here at Wolf Lodge for the roof, you can kind of get the idea here on what I was thinking. But I thought about that design quite a bit. And so this design works great for when the sun is high in the sky. But on the side of this structure, most likely you're going to have walls. So when the sun is rising in the east, you're not going to have very much sun. And when the sun is setting in the west, you're not going to have very much sun. This design works great for when the sun is overhead. Now I'm designing a greenhouse to sit at 10,725 feet elevation. I'm going to have more cold temperatures than warm temperatures up here. And so sun is a valuable resource. I want sun to be able to enter into the greenhouse when it's rising in the east and setting in the west. So what kind of structure would allow sunlight to enter all day long? And so the structure that I think is more beneficial up here would be a dome. Now domes with its 360-degree spherical shape allow sunlight to enter no matter where in the sky the sun is. And I think that would be super beneficial up here. Now let's see what the Forest Garden Greenhouse has to say about domes. And it's pretty interesting. The dome relies on triangular and spherical geometries to create an enclosure that will support heavy loads of snow with a great deal less material than a conventional rectilinear structure. A spherical shape also has the advantage of enclosing the maximum volume of space with the minimum surface area, making the dome the most naturally energy efficient shape possible. So my takeaway from that is the dome design uses the least amount of material to enclose the largest possible space. And well, material in my situation either needs to be hiked in or sourced right off the property with timber and the lumber mill. So using the least amount of material makes choosing the dome design a no-brainer for me. Let's go over some of the other benefits. A dome is extremely wind resistant because of its aerodynamic shape. I get really high winds up here. Another one, the dome geometry provides a cover with minimal surface area and maximal volume, making it the most energy efficient enclosure we can create. Now let's talk about the disadvantage. It has nothing to do with the structure, but let's see. In spite of the many advantages though, dome structures come with a cultural disadvantage we call the hippie stigma because of their prominent use among young counterculture practitioners in the 1960s. I mean, on one hand, you have the most energy efficient enclosure we can create, and on the other hand, you have cultural stigma. I could care less about cultural stigma and love the structural advantages that come with a dome. So, I've chosen the dome as my upper half of the structure. Now let's talk about subterranean, and that's the climate battery. So my greenhouse design is going to have two main components. The above ground component being the dome and the subterranean component being the climate battery. Now the first time I ever heard and learned about a climate battery was from this book. So my understanding of what a climate battery does and why I want to implement it in my design is a climate battery takes the highs out of the high temperatures and the lows out of the low temperatures and makes a nice, even, consistent temperature in the greenhouse. So the way the climate battery achieves this is by using a network of fans and underground perforated pipe. So during the day when you have your highest temperatures, you're using fans to suck up that warm, moist air from the greenhouse and push it underground into perforated pipes. And then the ground soaks up that moisture and heat. And then during your coldest temperatures, usually during the middle of the night, you're using those same fans to suck up cold, dry air, push it underground to pick up that moisture and heat, and then recirculate it back into the greenhouse. So basically you're using the earth as a store of energy. When there's a lot of energy in the greenhouse in the form of heat, you're bringing that energy underground, storing it, and then when you need that energy during your coldest temperatures in the night, you're bringing that energy up and reheating your greenhouse, making for a nice, even temperature. So I first learned about climate batteries from this book, and then I asked ChatGPT what it knew about climate batteries, and it had a vast, wide understanding of what climate batteries are. So I asked it to help me design one, and this is what it gave me. I'll leave in the description below the design and instruction manual that ChatGPT gave me on how to build one of these things. Feel free to take a look at it, critique it. Is it a good starting point or is it total BS? I'd love to know what you guys think about it. So the instruction manual has me building 2 layers of perforated pipe, the lowest one being at 6 feet below ground. So that's where I'm going to start on this whole project, taking the excavator and digging down 6 feet. Now as far as circumference of the greenhouse, I picked 20 feet as my diameter for the dome because a 20-foot diameter gives me 314 square feet inside. And well, 3.14 is a special number in my heart. So I got to dig a 20-foot diameter, 6-foot deep hole. Boy, I sure hope T-Rexcavator is up for this challenge. To get started, I got to replace the broken track with a new one, pick out a spot for the greenhouse to go, get the excavator to that location, and then start digging. Let's get started. Alright, here's the pitch that I've been worried about. I've been trying to figure out how to get this excavator up this pitch solo. Now when I was with my friends, they were able to winch me up pitches steeper than this. But I'm out here by myself, so I gotta try to figure this out. Oh, you guys are gonna love this one. Alright, here's what I came up with. I attached the winch to the bucket. Now how these capstan winches work is tension needs to be put on the line. Tension that a human puts on it. So my idea is to sit in the excavator, operate the sticks with my right hand, and pull the rope through the winch with my left hand to pull myself up this pitch. Will it work? It's either insanity or genius. I've often found that the line between those two is pretty blurry. Let's find out. What a wild ride that was. That was tough, but successful. It wasn't pretty, but successful, and that's all that matters. I mean, I started off fine, And then I hit these stumps. I got past these two, and then when I hit that one up there, my blade hit the front of it and there was just no going forward. That's when I had to back down, go to the right of it, and as soon as I did that, I was successful. All right, picking a spot. Now what does Jerome have to say about this? And that's how we should start, just by doing some sun worshiping and acknowledging the fact that that's where it all comes from. Keep it simple. And so what does he mean by that? It is really all about the sun. Where the sun rises, where the sun is highest in the middle of the day, and where the sun sets. The idea is just walk around the property, get a good feel of where the sun's at different points of the day and different points in the year, and pick a good spot based on that. So let's get our bearings. This is south over to the left side of this clearing. The sun is primarily going to be in this section of the sky throughout the year. So as the sun is shining this way, it doesn't make sense to put the greenhouse over here on the left. It makes more sense to put the greenhouse on this right side. So now I just got to pick a spot somewhere over here on the right side, and I'm going to use my secret weapon. So this is an app called Skyview, and what this does is it shows you all the celestial bodies in the sky, including, and most importantly, the sun. And what's cool about the app, and maybe the most important feature, is it allows you to go to a date in the future. So I can go to the date where the sun is going to be the lowest in the sky, which is on the winter solstice, December 21st. And then I could base my greenhouse location off of that. Because if my location gets sun when the sun is at its lowest point, then I know I'm good every other day of the year. I like it. Let's get a tape measure on it. 20-foot diameter, kind of get a feel of the footprint. I think 1 or 2 trees are gonna need to go. That's all right, I'll use them for lumber. Any clue what this is? Here's your hint. So this is the mount that I used to get the master time lapse. The time lapse that you see at the beginning of each episode. So the idea behind it is, instead of leaving a camera out in the elements all day, every day, for multiple years on end, all I have to do is click in a GoPro each day, take a video, and then take the camera out at the end of the day. Time to take this concept to the greenhouse. My plan was to bring up marking paint and mark the circumference of the greenhouse. I forgot that paint. I'll bring it with me next time I come up. But at least I know this is the general area where it's gonna be. I'm burning daylight quick. My goal for today is to at least break ground. Finally do that. And see if I can't get this stump up. If I accomplish that, it'll be a good day.
Hold on tight,
Finally broke ground on that greenhouse. Feels good. I got quite a bit of daylight left, but I'm going to use that daylight to clean up the cabin and clean up the property, because next time I come in, it's going to be with my parents. So next week, I'm traveling home to Ohio, and I'm going to drive my parents out here, and we're going to come up here for a few days. So don't be surprised if I miss a week releasing an episode due to travel. That's going to be it for me on this episode. Hope to see you on the next one here at Wolf Lodge.
My father used to tell me, a focused fool can accomplish more than a distracted genius. And so your most valuable asset isn't your time, it's your attention. A man with time and distractions will always lose to a man with a deadline and a singular focus. And so it's never been easier to be successful than it is today. It's just also never been easier to be distracted.